What's going on, everyone? Tallenv back here, and today I want to talk more about the Dragonball FighterZ game. I happened to come upon a little interview via YouTube from Twitch back when the game, or I guess technically right now at E3, but it had, you know, kind of the generic questions that everyone always asks, because it's like, you know, they want to ask the real questions, but of course the developers and everything are not going to give us the real answers or anything like that, because it's like, yeah, we got to wait, we're not going to tell you just yet. But there were some details that I was able to pick out of it, and just from watching a ton of gameplay from this little demo that they have going on over at E3, I really wish I could fly over from work right now from Japan and go check this game out. But again, maybe I can try to get to it in at the Tokyo Game Show or some other event that might be going on here in Japan. I think there's like a Kyoto Game Show that's like obviously only Japan, but nonetheless, I could potentially get something and go try it out. Or at the closed beta. Hey, if I'm lucky enough, Bandai, send me something my way. But yeah. But anyway, so I kind of want to go into just a few things. So first off, the big question that a lot of people are still having to this day is how transformations are going to work, and I have some theories about how it could potentially go through. Who could have some, who could not, and I'm going to get that into that in a second. Also, what are some things that we potentially see on screen all the time, especially with the key gauge and everything, because I have noticed like how much certain moves use up things, how obviously you gain key and everything like that, which might sound a little obvious, but at the same time it could work a little different, because again, we don't know all the details unless you've been there on the floor playing the demo. But yeah, again, they could change some things, and also just little things I've noticed in comparison to things like BlazBlue and the Guilty Gear games, and how again certain characters are gonna feel different compared to others, even though they might look the same and you think their bodies might be the same. For example, Goku and Vegeta, but how they could be a little different. So anyway, so let's get right into it. So first off, transformation. So when I was listening to this interview, and the woman asked the exact question that we all want to know: are there gonna be transformations in this? I believe she asked like, you know, can Fat Boo go into Super Boo or Kid Boo or Evil Boo or things like that? And by the way, if you want to listen to the whole interview, I left the link down in the description below. There is some Japanese and stuff, so if you've been trying to practice Japanese, go ahead and do it by all means. But anyway, so they asked about transformations, and the developer there in Japanese then talked to their translator, and she basically said that there is going to be transformations. However, it's not going to be for everybody. According to her, they wanted to make sure it speaks to the core of the series and everything, and those that rely on transformations and use transformations are going to get them, and those that don't won't have them in the game. So for example, you take someone like Frieza, okay? He's at his 4th form, and he obviously you've seen Golden Frieza as much as we've seen him as always, but, you know, everyone's always going, well, what about full power Frieza? He's kind of iconic, isn't he? I mean, he went full power Frieza against Super Saiyan Goku, the planet was about to blow up and everything, that's kind of iconic, right? Well, if you've been able to catch any of the gameplay, and maybe I might have it here if I can find it as well, you will be seeing Frieza where he does I don't know if I'd call it a super move, I call it kind of maybe like a normal super move, where he actually goes buff Frieza. He goes full powered Frieza, and he does like a dive bomb attack at you. So he does technically transform out, albeit for a split second, and then he does a super attack, but then he goes back to normal. And then of course we know for a fact that you can transform into Golden Frieza. I believe it uses up 3 key gauge bars or something like that when you use it. Again, just when you see him transform in the clip behind, you know, let me know if I was correct on that or not. But nonetheless, so it uses a lot of key gauge in order to transform, and then obviously he's more powerful and you can hit harder and stuff like that. So but what caught my interest is the fact that she said, okay, not every character's gonna have a transformation, and it kind of makes sense, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, so basically, to me at least, when I read that and when I've been looking at the gameplay and everything, it's like, okay, so we're basically confirming that characters with a transformation, that then they can return back to their normal form and then go back to that form and go back, you know, switch back and forth, they can do that. Whereas you take someone like Perfect Cell, you take someone like Fat Boo, they don't go back to those forms, you know. Fat Boo went to Super Boo, went to Kid Boo, and then that's where he was. Obviously, of course, in the anime, he spit him out and everything, but nonetheless, we're talking details here. Perfect Cell, on the other hand, the only reason he went back to 2nd form was because Gohan hit him so hard, and I don't think they're going to put a mechanic like that in the game. So this is all this stuff that I'm talking about right now, though. This is going to lead into my next video that I plan to do, which is going to be like my roster, like who do I think is going to be in this game. I'm going to get into that in a bit. So if you want to let me know now, though, leave your comments down below. Who do you think is going to be in this game? Who do you think is not going to be in this game? Because I can tell you right now, we're not going to have a huge roster like past games. There's going to be maybe 20 to 30 characters at max, I would say, in this game. That's perfect, actually, in my opinion. They're not going to put the little guys in there. They're going to put the big iconic guys. They're going to put the guys that make sense and are good in order to make the game balanced and unique, and they're not going to put in the fluff characters, okay? So some of our favorite characters might get the boot. It's hard to say, but that's what DLC, I guess, is technically for, or updates and things like that. But anyway, so back to the transformation. So again, going back to the Fat Boo and everything, you know, she mentioned that someone like Fat Boo is not going to have in, you know, when he's fighting, he's not going to transform into something else because that's going to change up. This goes back to how Arc System makes their games. You know, every character is supposed to feel unique. So if Fat Boo, who is obviously kind of more big and round, but he hits harder and everything like that, all of a sudden goes down to this kind of slim Super Boo, he changes dramatically, and I'm sure both from a design standpoint and game mechanics and actually trying to implement that and make that in the game, that's actually really hard. And it would be easier just to be like, okay, well, instead of doing that, let's have separate characters in. Let's have Fat Boo, let's have our Super Boo, and maybe Super Boo, for example, can have transformations to, or can switch costumes, or have a quick easy transformation into you know, Buhan and Bootanks or something like that. Or, you know, I don't know if they do Buicklo because he's not really iconic. He was there in the show and the manga for like 5 seconds or something like that, and then boom, you went to Buhan. So yeah, so I could see them doing something like that in terms of transformation. Now there was one other thing that caught my interest, and if you go to one of the gameplays, maybe I'll put it at the beginning, but anyway, so I was looking at the gameplay that someone else posted, and around 1 minute and 20 seconds, give or take, I'll try to match that up with my video, of course, Goku, obviously in the Super Saiyan form already, activates something called Sparking Blast, okay? And then he goes like, Orea Super Saiyajin, you know, kind of going like, you know, oh, I'm getting serious now kind of thing. But I couldn't tell, and his, you know, physically and, you know, how he looks on the screen, it doesn't change the way he looks from normal Super Saiyan, but there were times that I saw sparks and everything, so I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe this is because this is obviously an alpha build. I can potentially see what they're going for, or maybe I'm just completely, you know, going way out of my, you know, out of bounds here and thinking, oh, I'm seeing too much, or I'm thinking too much about this. But maybe, you know, every character is going to have some kind of Sparking Blast or charge up move where if they do have a transformation, then it's kind of like that where they, maybe Goku here will go Super Saiyan 2. He has his Ultra finish with Super Saiyan 3, and then, I don't know, maybe Super Saiyan Blue is a totally different character or something like that, because, you know, technically it is. Or maybe there'll be a base form Goku, and then he can power up to Super Saiyan Blue or something like that. But this Sparking Blast little activation, I guess, or whatever, you know, gave Matt a little bit of a power boost. So maybe for someone like Vegeta, we'll see Majin Vegeta or Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta or something like that, which I think would be pretty cool. But yeah, so that from just looking at that and listening to the interview and everything and watching all the gameplay, I can see where they're kind of going with the transformations. Again, none of this is 100% firm. I simply listened to the interview and I was like, okay, well, they said only certain characters can have transformations, and we've seen people like Frieza who has his move transformation and then he has his actual transformation in the golden form. So maybe this Sparking Blast is just simply a power up and they're not going to actually change, you know, from Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 2 or anything like that. But then certain characters will obviously transform to certain states, because again, someone like Goku and Vegeta and everything, you know, they have multiple different transformations, and you're not going to see, again, 5 different types of Gokus because this roster is not going to be that big. So maybe we're going to see something like the Sparking Blast is considered the Super Saiyan 2. Maybe it doesn't physically look like it, but it has electricity, so it's kind of like it. You know, again, who knows? But nonetheless, that's kind of what I kind of took away from it and everything. And then also looking at the key gauge down below, we all can kind of guess where this is going. They didn't really have to really talk about it in the interview that of course I left down in the description below again. But, you know, in past games and pretty much any Dragon Ball Z game, we've always had a key gauge and everything like that. So basic things like obviously doing main attacks, as I've watched gameplay before. Main attacks will charge it up. Obviously, charging up is going to charge up the key gauge as well. Using super attacks will use it as well. From what I've seen, things like Boo's little angry explosion cells energy field, it uses about 1 gauge or so, I think, give or take. And then if you do a big blast, like, not an ultra move, but like, you know, Goku actually charges up his Kamehameha, or Gohan kind of looks up and goes, bam, and then shoots it off or something like that, then I think that uses up a full bar, or maybe 2 bars or something like that. I think it uses up 2 bars, and then maybe the other ones only use up half or something like that. It's broken down into quarters, so I'm not exactly 100% sure on it, because there are times where it looks like it does a whole bar, and then you think, oh, well, this move has to do that as well, but then it doesn't, and so I'm sure there's different situations and everything about how it looks, and how it goes about and everything like that. But nonetheless, that's kind of what I've picked up from it. And the ultra moves, from the look of it, seem to use obviously quite a lot of ki. Certain ones can be blocked. I've seen Vegeta when he does his final flash. I've seen that blocked. I've heard that they're kind of, I don't know, easy to pull off is the right word, but, you know, they don't, you know, it doesn't require some crazy combination to pull off. But then I hear as a countermeasure, they're easy to block, which is fine. But you can't use them in combos really. Whereas with something like Cell's energy field, I've seen him go into a combo and then he uses the energy field and things like that. So that's pretty cool, able to throw in combos with your super moves and everything. So again, I don't know exactly how much each super move or what level of super move will use a certain amount, but I do know for a fact that certain things like transformations, especially Golden Frieza, it uses up like 3 bars or something like that. It uses up a crazy amount of ki. But nonetheless, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what characters have transformations. And one last thing that they mentioned before I go here, guys, that, you know, it kind of was confirmed, but not really. But, you know, take it however you want. Go ahead and check out the interview as always. But, you know, they were talking about how they, you know, usually when they build games, they have to worry about not only hitting punches and kicks, but also using weapons and everything. And in DBZ, you don't, you know, obviously no one uses the weapon. And then someone in the, someone from Twitch is like, well, wait a minute, what about Trunks? Trunks uses a sword. And the guy looks and he goes, Trunks will Buki o Skymaska. And it was just like, well, actually, I don't know if he's going to use the sword. We can't really get into too much details there. And I'm like, yeah, Trunks is basically confirmed. So, but yes, here in Japan, though, we're supposed to be getting magazines. Every month we get a magazine that features Dragon Ball. It's called V-Jump. And we will be getting that, or I guess I'm going to try and go out and get it and everything like that. So every month, we're going to see characters revealed from that. So I'm definitely going to go pick that up. I'm going to be like, all right, let's see. Because I'm, you know, again, I'm going to cover this in my character video about who I think could potentially be in the game. But I could easily see Trunks being in there, you know, a couple of Fusion guys, Kid Buu, Super Buu, you know, Piccolo, Krillin, things like that. So I'm really interested to see what kind of characters they're going to be bringing in and everything. Again, and with the transformations and all. And again, something with some transformations, maybe, again, we won't see them, but it will simply just be a color swap or something like that. Because obviously they're different, you know, you can change your colors, and that's because this is a fighting game. This isn't some huge customization thing, which, you know, we all figured in and everything like that, which is totally fine. But maybe some characters, instead of, say like Vegeta, for example, instead of, if you can pick, maybe if there is a Super Saiyan 2 version of him or something like that you can pick as a player, because maybe he plays different from his more buff Cell state or anything like that, like he has in the demo, maybe instead of normal Super Saiyan 2, you can have Majin Vegeta or something like that, as just an opposite color, or, you know, you'll see the M or whatever. So that would be pretty cool, you know. So again, I don't know every single little detail when it comes to transformations, who's going to have them and all that, because again, we don't know the full roster, but I cannot wait. They're looking again at an early 2018 release, so let's hope that they keep that on track. But I will have no problem if they have to delay the game. Yes, we'll be bummed at first, but if they can, the more the detail and the more time they can put into this game, I'm all for it, even if that means a little bit of a delay. So yeah. So anyway, guys, let me know your comments down below. Who do you think is going to be the game? What do you think about the fact of transformations, how it's only going to apply to some? I personally think it makes sense. I mean, you're not going to have someone like Fat Buu, again, transform into Super Buu and then go back. It seems like they're having transformations as a limited time thing where you transform, you have a big power boost, and then you jump back down to whatever form you started the match at, which totally makes sense, which just means that instead of having, you know, instead of just having Fat Buu, that means we're potentially, you know, then you gotta have a separate character, Super Buu, and then Kid Buu, and things like that. So let me know your comments down below what you think about that as well. Leave a like if you like the video, and subscribe if you happen to be new. Again, more Dragon Ball FighterZ videos coming out. Loving this game, super hyped, hope to get into the closed beta. No information on it yet. The moment I do, though, stay tuned to my Twitter, and yeah, I'll keep you updated on that and everything. And I'll keep you updated on all the V-Jump stuff coming out here from Japan. So yeah. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next one.